Good morning, West Ham fans. Now, is Tim Steidten an evil genius? Yes, everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you're safe and well. Happy Sunday. Now, I wanted to do a bit of a thought piece, an opinion piece, partly because of the craziness we've had in the last 48, 72 hours in terms of just the transfer news, rumours, and the implications of those transfer rumours. Because, firstly, I think there's in terms of where we are now in terms of transfers, obviously we are, compared to where we were and we have been under previous regimes, I think we're a lot further down the line. The fact is we actually signed someone before the bloody transfer window opened. So far we signed 3 players. I would expect us to at least have one more, if not 2 more, in the next few days, and then a couple more, and we'll be sorted rough in terms of what we need, with 2 weeks left before the beginning of the season. So I'm not into this whole panic situation yet. And actually, if you look at the side, arguably, the side that will kick off against Aston Villa, if we bought no one else, would probably be stronger than we finished. With a better centre half. We've got 𝙊𝙋𝙄𝙉𝙄𝙊𝙉 as well. We've got a pre-season with the likes of 𝙊𝙋𝙄𝙉𝙄𝙊𝙉, heavily integrated. Freddie Potts heavily integrated. So and the fans have been calling out for more inclusion with the academy. If we buy more players, then we would have less opportunity for the academy at the moment. Now I'm saying we are going to be buying more players, and we know that's going to be the case. But the thing that's really sort of opened my eyes a little bit, I think, is the 𝙊𝙄𝙄𝙉 bid, so to speak. And that's why I'm sort of titling this whether Tim, is he an evil genius or a very lucky man? Now, firstly, I think, we have to put some context. Where we've seen things fall down by the wayside before, the likes of Carlos Bacca, Ida Johnson, these types of deals which were always going to happen, but always fell by the wayside at the last minute. William Carvalho, and sort of the market trader way of playing, of working on negotiations. Did it with Saïd Benrahma, didn't we? Where we was going to buy him, and then I ain't wrong with his blood. We're going to take a couple of minutes off, that type of thing. A lot of that is left. A lot of that isn't there anymore now. Tim is, we have someone who's in charge who is a very, very clever man. He has a vision. He's brought in a new head coach who seems to follow that vision, who seems to, by what we've seen, and again, it's all PR, isn't it? Really, but all very, very positive PR. Usually, even when a new head coach comes in or a new style of play, there'll always be 1 or 2 rumblings which will come out. We haven't heard any rumblings come out, via other sources, not necessarily directly, obviously, from the club official sources, but from ITKs or agents talking to ITKs and journalists. There's been none of that so far in the last few weeks, which sort of is positive. Now, the reason why I want to talk about Tim in a bit more detail is the craziness that's happened over the last 72 hours. Now, go back a few days ago, and there was talk. It was announced by Sky Sports Germany journalist Florian Peltenberg that we had agreed a deal with Bayern Munich for Nosua Mazawa, the Moroccan 26-year-old international right back. And this was a player that Man United were touting and were very keen on him. And our interest was very much came out of left field, came out of nowhere, really. And to have the announcements when we were heavily linked with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, where we had assumed it was going to be okay. We'll get Wan-Bissaka, they'll get Mazawa, and they've already, they've sorted out his replacement. But no, we're going to go for the replacement rather than go for the player we were linked with. Seemed like very strange the way we changed our tactics slightly, particularly as also when Man United were probably looking about 15 million quid. Now let's look at who made the announcement. The person who made the announcement was Florian Peltenberg. Florian we know is a confidant of Tim, and in fact, he's the only person who has done a one-to-one interview with Tim since joining West Ham. And now he's announced that West Ham have had a player bid accepted for the player. And as a result, Man United started scrabbling. Man United started looking for alternatives. Dumfries was apparently someone they were looking at, but they still needed to get rid of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So they were, literally slashing the price to get him off the books, to then free up the wages, free up the money to then go and get Dumfries or someone like that. Then fast forward 24 hours later, and again, an announcement by Florian Peltenberg that the West Ham deal is off. And Man United are progressing. The player wants to go to Man United. Now, I suggested at the time, and I still did, that the player always wanted to go to Man United because of the relationship with Ten Hag. Obviously, they worked together with Ajax for a few years. And that was a key driver, I think, in terms of Nazura's decision why he wanted to go to Man United over West Ham. If that wasn't there, he may well have come to West Ham. But if that wasn't there, would we have still bidded for him? That's what I'm saying. However, it does appear with this fallout from the bid falling through that Tim always wanted Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And this is alluded to the fact that this was all part of the master plan by Tim. He carefully orchestrated this scenario to lower the price down even further for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and that in turn would free up less money on the transfer fee to then contribute to wages to match what roughly Aaron Wan-Bissaka was looking for and offer him a better pay packet. Now, there were reports that he didn't want to sign for West Ham. He turned us down. But I haven't found those reports. I have a feeling that may well have been Chinese whispers, potentially PR led by Man United, maybe to save face of potentially losing one of their main targets to West Ham. In the same way, I've seen reports that he wants to come back to London, or articles claiming that he wants to come back to London. Now, all this scenario, if he was the puppet master, if Tim is the puppet master and the ultimate chess player, this is type of business negotiation tactics that West Ham have never seen before. So I can see there's a reluctance to accept that from a percentage of the fan base. I think it's classic shithousery from Tim Steidten, personally. Tim would have already known, I think, through contacts, that he wanted to join Man United. Now, we'll come back to that in a minute, but the world we live in now is very different to the world we lived in 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. It's a social first environment. We know, we're guilty of it as well. When journalists like Florian or Fabrizio or David Ornstein or X or Dharmesh, I'm not saying X is a journalist, but, in terms of ITKs, when they release news, we cover it. Every other bloody channel covers it. And so it does create noise. And that can be, and I think more often than not, that is orchestrated. There's an orchestration from the clubs, from the agents, to get their players noticed or to put pressure on teams to sell players and things like that. Very rarely do we get now a transfer which comes out completely out of the blue. It's a social first world we live in now. We know about it first on social media before anything happens, any transfer happens. I reckon the last time a transfer just dropped without any prior knowledge on social media, or any prior knowledge that day to it being announced, was probably when we signed Areola on loan from Fulham, maybe. Yes, it came out on the media that day, but there was no link. There was no ITK News, and then it just dropped, which was nice. Nice to be surprised for a change, completely out of the blue. Now, Tim knows we live in this world. Tim has good contacts. He's good friends with Fabrizio Romano. He's good friends with Florian Peltenberg. And so by leaking news or talking to them and by doing what agents have been doing for years and putting news out to put pressure either way onto a club to sell or to drop the price on a player to then sell to then buy that player, he's doing exactly what agents are doing. I'm not for 1 minute assuming we haven't had a bid accepted from Bayern Munich. I believe that was true. But I'm suggesting that Tim knew all along that there would be a reluctance from the player to join West Ham with the potential of Man United, him joining Man United over him. And indeed, that's been something which has been going on for the last couple of weeks. And, Mazawa's agents, they would have already discussed terms with Man United, maybe even a contract in place. We know it all takes place. Apparently we've had a contract in place and a relatively term agreement already for John Duran, a 5-year deal, apparently. So I'm suggesting that potentially Tim knew about this already. Tim wanted to get Aaron for the cheapest possible price. And that's not being cheap, that's being a business person. If you can get something for £5 million cheaper than normally, with a little bit of jiggery pokery, a little bit of black magic, a little bit of dark arts, then why wouldn't you do that? Because in itself, the package by Man United dropping the cost means we could offer Aaron more wages within that transfer budget. And that's how business works. And that's how, and that's how football business works. Now, I think we do have an evil genius on our hands. I think we do have a puppet master. And that's why he's been brought in to do that. We knew that Wolves were adamant they weren't going to budge from £45 million for Max Kilman. We got him for 40. Doesn't seem a lot, but that's £5 million we've saved. John Duran, Aston Villa want £40 million. I think we'll end up playing. Obviously, we had another bid rejected yesterday. I think we'll end up paying about 37, 38. Yeah, it's a couple of million quid saved, but that's £7 million saved over those two transfers, which then we can put towards another. And it's not. And again, I don't think it's being cheap. It's about being clever and being business savvy. And indeed, if we're looking how social media dictates, transfers, look at what John Duran did yesterday. On Friday it was, wasn't it? Giving the crossed hammers of Instagram Live. He knows what that's going to do. He knows that that's dictating the narrative. He knows that's going to piss off Aston Villa. He knows that's going to piss off the fans. He knows that's going to want Villa to get rid of him even more. And that's how football is done. And Tim is plugged into that. And I'm all for it. He wants to buy. He has a list of players that he wants to get, and he will try and spend the least amount of money to get that done. Same as every bloody club. We talk about us being a joke. I don't think we are a joke. I've been talking to other fans. They've been linked with lots and lots of players. Obviously, we keep a running total for a laugh. It happens in all walks of life. It happens in all clubs in football. Look at Fulham. We talk about bad business practices. They're just about to pay around 35 million for Emile Smith-Rowe. They have had their pants firmly pulled down. Probably no more than 15, 18. That's what he should be paying. They're probably paying double the market rate. Yes, he's homegrown, but he's injury prone. £35 million for him, or £35 million, 37 for John Duran. I know why I'd rather spend my money in terms of what we require in the moment. We know, it could just be clever PR. As a caveat to this all could be bollocks, and we are just we don't know our arse from our elbow. But I don't think we do now. I think previously we didn't. Scattergun, yada yada, anyone, da 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 da. I don't believe, yes, we have been linked to 175 players. Have we really put inquiries in for 175 players? No. Have we put inquiries in for 15 players, possibly. That's four. That's about 5 or 6 different positions, 2 or 3 options in each. But did we get Did we get the number one target? Did we get the guy that Julien Lopetegui wanted? You might not agree with how much we paid for him or whatever, but did we get our number one target? Did we get Max Kilman? Yes. Now, if we get John Duran, who apparently is our number one target in the striker option, when was the last time West Ham got our 2 top targets? I can't remember. Maybe, I don't know, John Hartson and Paul Kitson under Harry Redknapp, maybe? I don't know. But we don't know about targets. We don't know who things were. But, very rarely do we get who we actually want. And I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka is probably one of Tim's number one targets to the right back position. And that's all this puppetry, all this movement, all these chess pieces. I think we've got a very clever person in charge of our transfer window. I think we've got a very clever person there. Now, people look back, and again, we've spoken about Lewis Orford, and I think there was a lot. I personally, reading between the lines, Aston Villa said, "Show us, we don't want to pay that much. Okay, well, show us a deal that involved Lewis Orford." And we said, "Okay, we probably at the moment rate Lewis about 10 million quid," and they went no, and that's it. There was no. Villa asked to be included. I don't think it was as concrete bid as we've alluded to. I'm not thinking we're selling the family silver. I just think they asked the question and we gave them the answer. You're not going to lowball us on that. £10 million or £8 million for a player who's never played 1 second of Premier League football. 97% of Premier League academy players never play any Premier League football. It takes that 3% to qualify in terms of playing a second of Premier League football. I think you're going to see a lot more jiggery pokery in the next few days. But let me know what you think. You might think it's all bollocks. It's fair enough. It's your opinion. But I think there's a lot more thought behind what we're doing at the moment. But anyway, take care. Stay safe. Stay warm. Stay humble. Keep the faith. And come on, you bloody Irons. Irons.